Welcome back to The Edge in this ongoing series of the setups. This one's called Big Lots. Lots is another word for contracts. So a couple important questions to ask yourself when understanding this particular technique. Number one, do you have the tool and the ability to recognize when big buying and selling comes in? Secondly, once you do in fact recognize it, what questions should you ask yourself? That's what's most important when trying to understand and read order flow, especially in real time. Our competition, especially the retail community, first of all, they don't put themselves in a position to recognize when this dynamic surfaces, big buying and selling. And secondly, even if they do see it in time and sales, they don't know the right questions to ask themselves and how it could yield clues. So there's two things. When it's green in our particular image, you could assume that it's a big buyer lifting the offer, an aggressive buyer, whether it's one order on an accumulation in the same millisecond of many, many orders. Either way, it's still important information. If it's red, that's a big order hitting the bid. Now, what's important in any kind of filter is that every market has what's deemed to be big size. What's big in crude oil or gold might not obviously be big in a market like the S&P E-minis. So for the S&P E-minis, which is where this image comes from, let's say a few hundred contracts or above would be what we would consider big. So certainly 500 and above would show up on a chart like this. So always what we look to do is fixate our eyes and make sure our traders have their eyes looking at a chart that moves up, back down, finishes back up in there. Fixate your eyes properly on any chart. Now we look at this bar right in here, which is a big, tall up bar. Right at the base of it, a big 649 lot order came in and actually kicked it back up to here. So when a big buyer came in, number one, we recognized it. Number two, we knew the direction it moved the market. It actually followed through. See, if a market follows through, that's a clue, and here's why. Subsequent to this market recognizing, getting a big buyer to come in, it rallies. Then it falls back down, not only once, re-rallies a little bit here, but twice, uses where the big buyer came in as near-term support. It's not a coincidence as we draw that line that the market came in twice and held it as support. The big buying was defending that price a couple more times. Anytime you could recognize and read the market real time, you have a leg up on those you trade against. And maybe before you got into the Edge community, you have a leg up on how you used to trade and how you used to think. It's all about thinking like others and recognizing what's important and the right questions to ask yourself after that recognition takes place. So that's number one. A big buyer comes in, the market uses it as near-term support in this example. Then we start right in here and the market re-rallies, comes off, and all of a sudden as it starts to walk up, a big seller hits the bid, 500. The market should typically move down at least a little bit, and it doesn't even seem to budge lower. That's the eyebrow-raising moment if there ever was one. If you were thinking of getting short in this particular area, and you've seen this dynamic surface where you punch a guy in the face and he doesn't even flinch, in this case a big seller, and it doesn't go down, look out above. This is the moment of the market not following through, and that's how it also yields a clue. It's not just recognizing, it's understanding and being able to understand what it does. Recognizing and understanding. Those are two elements that those who trade for many, many years don't even understand, and then they try to figure out why they can't read order flow. Reading order flow is not just the recognition of buying and selling, but also what does the market do in real time. If you were looking to get short and a big 500 lot seller comes in and it doesn't budge lower, it's the analogy we use of punching a guy in the face and he doesn't flinch. In the first example, you punch a guy in the face and the market falls over and rallies. It's used as support. In the second example, a big seller comes in and it does not move lower. So the big lot setup is about qualifying not only real-time support or resistance, but reading order flow and being able to stack probabilities as to what the next right side of the market's going to be. So even if you want to execute your longer term or medium term biases, this is a way to use order flow to qualify those decisions and those trades.